Hello, everybody. I hope that you are doing well today. My name is Ben Smolin. I am recording my signature project presentation for the Administrative Certification Program with Dr. Davis. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. All right. So, my signature project is increasing academic success through structured ACT intervention in the English language arts. I'm at Huffman High School, Birmingham, Alabama. So, I am firmly against just reading the slides. I just think the second you're speaking and you're reading what's on the board, nobody really needs to listen to you because they could just read it themselves. Half the time, in a professional setting, they're going to send you the slides afterwards, which ensures that no one is going to pay attention to what you're saying. I am 100% confident that whoever is watching this, Dr. Davis and any other UWA administrators, you clearly know how to read very well, and you know how to read academic jargon and data far better than I do because you're teaching me. Therefore, I'm going to refrain from just reading off the data points. Instead, I'm going to kind of more explain and try to add in details and kind of the human element, the realistic element as to what we're trying to do. All right, so this is our pre-project data. Long story short, Huffman is a large urban school. In America, it shouldn't be this way, but it is. Schools like Huffman generally have horrible ACT scores. I've been at this school for 8 years. It's always been that way. Well, we've had a lot of programs in the 8 years that I've been here that have tried to improve those scores. We've gone up by a little bit here and there. We've gone down by a little bit here and there, but we've never really had an incredible program that truly raises our student academic achievements. So a couple things to note on this pre-project data. It was quite easy to find data that showed that we were deficient academically in the ACT. We decided to specifically focus on English because that would allow us to see whether the strategies we're doing are working or not. If they're working great, if they're consistently helping students and teachers do better, it would be easy to then take that pattern that we use in English and apply it to all other academic areas. But we needed to start with something smaller at first, so we chose English. More interesting than are our scores low was the question of why are our scores low? Why do our students think our scores are low, and why do our teachers think our scores are low? A lot of the teachers, they blamed low student engagement. They basically said the kids don't care. Kids don't want to improve their scores. They don't want to do the things that we tell them to do to improve their scores. According to the students, a lot of them, and I knew this just from talking to the kids, they don't really care because it's never really been explained to them well why they should care. I helped, when I was a 10th grade teacher, I helped, proctor the ACT work keys test, the standardized test for 10th grade for a long time. And it was very common that students would not be answering the question. It'd be like, I would ask them, do you know what this is? Do you know why this matters? And they'd say, nah, my teacher just said I need to be quiet and answer all the boxes or she's going to drop my score. That's not a good strategy to make anybody, kid or adult, care. It's just authoritative. And so the students on their surveys clearly showed that they didn't care because they didn't know why they should care. They'd never been explained how it would help their life. Those were kind of the main things that we found from the pre-project data. So this is just some background information. The phrase culturally responsive strategies or student-centered strategies. that sounds really good, but it's basically just based on the simple idea that every single child is an individual, just like every single person's an individual, and they all learn differently. Now, not if you have a bunch of white kids and or a bunch of black kids or a bunch of Hispanic kids or a bunch of poor kids, obviously, any of those subgroups, it is not homogenous. All white kids don't learn the same. All special needs kids don't learn the same. But there are certain patterns that, based on that student's culture, based on that student's socioeconomic level, they are similar. And so, in order to improve urban student scores, you have to use strategies that are specifically designed for urban students. That was one of the main things that we realized pretty early on, and I do not think that we were doing it. We were basically buying, our district was purchasing very expensive, very highly rated test prep materials, and maybe eventually those can be used, but first we have to get some buy-in from the kids. We have to get some buy-in from the teachers. We have to use their culture, their prior knowledge to kind of hook them in and to make them want to try. So background information just further reinforced our need to kind of go back to the drawing board and start from scratch. And before we start spending hours doing ACT Blitz, the teachers have to really believe in the fact that a change can happen, and the kids have to have bought in. All right. So for our action plan and our timeline, obviously all the slides on here are incredibly summarized, but attached with the assignment is the full action plan and timeline and some other individual assignments from my signature project that explain it further. But basically, a couple things I wanted to touch on for this slide. First off is that I worked very closely with our curriculum director to create this action plan. And at Huffman, I love my job. I cannot tell you how many students I personally think are geniuses. Like they're going to change the world. However, collectively, it is a very chaotic environment. Like many urban schools, these kids are dealing with really serious adult issues that would negatively affect any adult's ability to focus and behave in a professional manner. And as such, there's a lot of fights. Excuse me. There's a good bit of chaos. And there are days when the three things that were supposed to happen just don't happen. So realistically, we tried to make sure that everybody on our team knew that if there was a day with a lot of fights, or if there was a day where it was chaotic and we couldn't do the thing that we were supposed to do, it didn't mean that we were going to scratch the plan or that we are going to fake it and pretend that we did this stuff. It just meant we were going to be flexible. So we had that flexibility kind of built in to our action plan. The kickoff sounds good, but it really was designed to actually try to communicate to teachers and students, hey, this is something different. This is not the same thing we do every single year where you have to go through the motions and pretend that you are teaching, and the students have to go through the motions and pretend they care. This is something new. We want it to be something new. Same thing with the teacher professional development. We really had tried to explain that, once again, this is not just a boring professional development session created so you can sign the roll and get your credit. We actually want you to engage and talk, and we want to work together to create some sort of program that you believe in. Let's see here. As such, consistency is very important to any implementation, really to almost anything. And so we felt it was important to have biweekly blitz sessions. And we felt like it was important to continually check back with all of our teachers and check back with all of our students to kind of see how everybody's feeling, to see how everybody's doing. And just to remind them, hey, we haven't gone away. We didn't just want you to come out and do this thing one time and then we're going to blend in the background. We really want to continually improve, and we care, and we want to provide teachers the resources, and we want to talk to kids when they're feeling a certain type of way and get them back on track. So that's kind of the idea summarized of the action plan and the timeline. Okay, as far as the proposed implementation steps, I kind of touched on some of the aspects of this in the last slide with the action plan, because the action plan obviously includes a good deal. And I apologize. I have bad allergies. That's why I look like I keep rubbing my eyes and a little red, but it is what it is. The only thing that I haven't really touched on that I want to for this slide is two things. First of all, teacher collaboration. Huffman has a lot of teachers, 60 to 70 teachers, and there's a lot of collaboration. However, when it doesn't go right, teaching as a profession can sometimes feel like you're like alone in a giant group of people. Yes, there's a bunch of other teachers. Yes, all this stuff is here to support you, but you're kind of just in your room, kind of forced to do what you're supposed to do alone with no help. So we really highlighted collaboration, and in our collaboration meetings, we really worked hard to create an open. It's not always going to be fun. Everybody has families, everybody has jobs. Not everybody wants to just sit around and quote collaborate after school, but we tried whenever possible to make it truly kind of human being to human being instead of just professional jargon to professional jargon. Additionally, we tried this, I think it's the fourth bullet point where it says integration of cross content reading strategies. We have tried multiple initiatives in my time here to kind of implement cross content strategies, but they're really hard because you have to get buy-in from a massive amount of people. And so with this, we spent a good deal of time talking to the different departmental heads about what they were already doing and finding ways to use what they're already doing, but then change it slightly so it would also apply to our initiative. Everyone knows if you've been a teacher for any amount of time, you have what you're doing, and then once a week, somebody from the district or somebody from your department or somebody, your principal is going to come in and give you 3 new things that you're supposed to do every day. And personally, if I did all the things that I was supposed to do every day, I mean, I don't even have enough time in my classroom. The time would run out. And so we worked hard in order to make the cross content aspect of this work. We really took time to listen to what they were doing, look over their materials, and then there was a few simple changes that they could make in order to use their current curriculum to also work with this initiative. Okay, so this is our expected post-project data. We have seen already a great deal of improvement in our students' practice tests, in our students' engagement. We recently had an outside nonprofit that our district partnered with, and their only job is to come in here once a week and teach ACT strategies. And in the past, when these outside groups have come in, it is just really, really hard for the teachers because the kids don't care already. And now they don't know this new person who's trying to teach them a bunch of boring stuff. And then we're supposed to somehow, get our kids to care or pretend to care and while being polite without, annoying the people that have come in and given their time. This was really different, that we just had a lot of kids who cared. They were raising their hands, they were participating. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't everybody, but you could just see a change. And several of the teachers involved in the Blitz who have been here for 20 plus years. I just talked to my principal the other day, and you can see kind of a change in their attitude because it kind of is working. It's fun being a teacher when your kids care and your kids want to learn. It's hard being a teacher when you just feel like you're sitting here filling a role. And so based on all these positive things that we've seen, based on the data of our, practice tests and stuff, we really do I expect to see a rise in scores. However, we want to be realistic. We're not going to go from, below average scores to the leader of the state or anything like that. But we projected that we would increase our scores. All right. second here. So at some of the points that I wanted to hit on this slide are similar to the one we did last time. Um, so I've really gone over most of it. One of the main things, and I kind of touched on this, is that it takes a while to see growth sometimes in your actual data. And so if this doesn't raise our student scores as much as we wanted it to, it is clear to everyone involved in this initiative that it is positive effects are happening as a result of this. And so we want to make sure that we highlight those. And that way, even if we don't get what we wanted, it's not a failure. We want to keep that positive energy going into the next year, because eventually, if we keep raising engagement, if we keep raising changing teachers' attitudes, we're going to see some real shifts in our data. It just may not happen yet. Sometimes that takes a little time. So basically, this project is really about kind of creating momentum, I guess, to use a stereotypical phrase, about planting seeds. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to kind of take on this as my signature project, is because I just completely lost my train of thought. Oh yeah. Because it's really more about the overall. It's just as much about the school culture and climate as it is about the data points, about the hard numbers, and those things are always connected. There's always a relationship between the two. So, I'm gonna go on to the next slide, and I apologize. I'm very tired because I have been working on this signature project. Um, Connection to student achievement. Um, so part of the success as to what we've done so far, I think, was about helping students understand that yes, the ACT is a standardized test. Yes, these days after COVID, you can still go to a good college, become what you want to become without a good ACT score. However, it allowed us to really communicate to them why it matters. And so you're able to explain the increased amount of money they can get in scholarships, about these certain colleges they could not go to without a certain score. And so improving students' attitude and buy-in was not about just being like, hooray, let's do this. It wasn't like getting them worked up like before a football game or something. It was more about, hey, this is what you say you want to do with your life. This is what it takes to get there. You're not there yet, so let's get you there. You know what I mean? It really helped a lot. And lastly, the importance of, I guess, differentiation. Because in the past, when we do these ACT Blitz, it really is kind of like and I'm not criticizing anybody, kind of like a shut up and listen to the speaker so you can do better. We kind of designed this ACT Blitz. We do have a speaker and we have a core group of kids who sit there and listen, but the kids that are ahead of the class, we utilize software and additional resources so they can go off in the corner, and they're already motivated. They're already ahead of everybody else. They can keep progressing. And the kids who are behind, they don't have to sit there and be lost because they don't know the vocabulary terms. There's a specific teacher tasked with just teaching that group. And so by differentiating and kind of like meeting each child where they were at, I think it really raised their confidence and helped connect this to real life, which in turn will eventually raise student achievement levels. All right, next steps. Next steps. So I worked in restaurants for a very long time. I came into education kind of late. And everybody and their uncle has some, 3 or 4 people in their family where they cook the best burgers, and everybody's always like, you should open a restaurant, you should open a restaurant, or they smoke incredible ribs, and it's like, you should open a restaurant. Often those restaurants fail because there's a huge difference between being able to cook very well, or even create a restaurant and hire staff that can cook well, but it's the consistency. It's being able to create a dish that tastes the same every single day, every single month, every single time somebody comes in, it is the same. So consistency is key. That is the same thing, in my opinion, with education. I cannot tell you how many district sponsored or school specific initiatives I've seen fail because they start off good and there's all this, excitement and stuff, but 2 months later, nobody even remembers what the thing was about. So we really, really emphasize the fact that this is not just some new thing for my school. It's not like I'm going to graduate, in May and then we'll forget about it. We're trying to be consistent over the years. And so all the things we did, we tried to document and create I guess implementation steps that can be what is the word? Replicated. That can be replicated. So a lot of our next steps were about continuing with what we're doing. And once we get all the data back truly, that's when we'll be able to look at it and see whether it's working or not. If it's kind of unclear, we'll do it another year and look at the data with just the English. If it's clearly helping, we want to go ahead and implement it through multiple subject areas, basically all the core subject areas on the ACT. We want to kind of duplicate this initiative so that those departments can also increase their scores. These are my references. I don't have a whole lot to say on that, except that several of these are incredible books that changed how I think about education. Honestly, there are a lot of books that I did not enjoy, but several of these are some of my favorite books I've ever read about education. So, I believe that wraps up my signature project presentation. I hope I wasn't too long-winded, but thank you so much for your time. And Dr. Davis, thank you for your patience and your understanding as I try to and continually fail to balance work and life and deadlines. So I appreciate you more than you know. Have a good day.